Let's record.
Good to go.
Gotcha. All right. So my name is Darrell Anderson, CEO of Chef Joseph's, original Chicago style kick sauce located in Virginia Beach. And today we're featuring a farmer by the name of Thelonious Cook. And he's based out of Eastern Shore, Virginia. And we're going to get started about talking about what he does, you know, the interests of his crops, different things that we can discuss as far as bringing some light to his, you know, his business as well. So with that, I'll step back and say, welcome, Thelonious. Thank you for joining our link, you know, for coming on in and, you know, talking about what you do. We'll just ask you some questions and everything, and we'll go from there. So you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, appreciate it. And thank you for having me. Like you said, my name is Thelonious Cook, and I'm the owner and farm manager of Mighty Thundercloud Edible Forest. Um, I started farming back in 2015. That first year was basically an apprenticeship. So I actually started farming on my land in 2016. My farm is 7 acres, although I'm not actively growing on all 7 acres. In production, I have about 3 acres that I farm, 2 hoop houses, and then I have 1 acre actually located in Hampton, Virginia, where I grew up. So it's back behind my mom's house. And then I have another acre actually on the main farm over in Bird's Nest, Virginia, in Northampton County. So, and I do a range of vegetables, some fruit. I call it edible forest because it's been a transition of, including perennials, fruit trees, brambles, nuts, and everything. So.
Gotcha. So I noticed you do, I think I was looking at your bio, you do cabbage as well? Is cabbage included in some of your growing?
Yeah, I do all kinds of cabbages. In fact, I just finished seeding about 3 different types: red cabbage, green cabbage. I do Savoy, also do Napa cabbage, because in the fall I make my own version of kimchi with just all of the fall crops and brassicas and things like that.
Wow. Right. Right. Good. So how long have you been in the business, growing, farming?
Well, I started my LLC official business in 2016, but I've been a grower, all my life, because thankfully my parents always had large scale gardens, so growing up, that was just part of the chores, weeding, picking beans, tomatoes and stuff like that during the summertime. So yeah, it's been sort of a lifelong deal.
Good. So what was the highlight moment for you to say, you know what, let me decide to take what I'm growing and take it to the market to make profit? Like, what was that light bulb moment? Because, you have a lot of people, that I've met, in my time here, it's like, they grow, but it's only for themselves and their family. But then, of course, when we met, it was like, okay, you had a whole market set up pretty much. And so what was that like? What was that light bulb moment for you to transition that into to making profit?
Yeah, well, that was definitely part of the goal when I launched the farm, in order to make it sustainable. But I never imagined that I would be farming as a business. I guess after I went off to school, because I have a background in IT. So I had this idea that I would at the very least, have a garden, in my backyard, and grow for myself. But years later, after I finished my post grad, and I did that overseas, and I was just coming back to the States, to the Tidewater area of Virginia. And, I had a whole bunch of, resumes out waiting for the perfect job. And I had overheard my parents talking about needing to go over to the Eastern Shore to tend to the land. And I had completely forgot that we had land over there, And so because I had the availability, I said, don't worry about it. I'll go ahead and, go out there and, mow the lawn and what have you. Um, little did I know at the time what I was getting into, because everything had just grown up. There was a house that used to be there. You couldn't see from the road anymore. And we had just a neighbor that was supposed to be tending to the land. And he had, sort of carved out his spot in the back where he was just doing monocropping, wheat, soybean, that sort of thing. But a large chunk of it had just really just gone back to nature. And so I went in there with my hand tools, trying to cut down these thick vines that had been growing for, a couple of decades, and it just wasn't happening. So, I started looking into resources online, through like USDA, for grants and opportunities, for funding, to purchase equipment and, whatever I could. So it started out with just kind of just maintaining the land and just being out there observing, everything. I started to think, well, there's no reason why I can't just start growing food now. And so that led to, well, let me grow a little bit extra, to sell, to make all this, this sort of, economically sustainable. And that was, that was kind of sort of the fall of 2014. And I found a beginning farmer training program, which I applied to and got in. So that entire year of 2015, the program only required me to complete a certain amount of, hours apprenticing on a farm. But because my mindset was to do it right, I wanted to learn just the whole business aspect of it. I just decided to, to stay on that farm, from the beginning of the season, from March all the way through December, and really kind of see it from start to finish and learn, soak up as much as I could before I actually started, my own farm.
Right. So were those programs pretty successful, like the USDA? Did you find that they were very helpful in basically providing you the aid and assistance that you needed to be able to go to the next level?
Well, the beginning farmer training program is a nonprofit organization called Future Harvest, and which I'm now a board member on now. But yeah, they were very sort of instrumental, in just providing the opportunities, to learn, to do farm tours, workshop series, conferences, to really just get my brain going on what it is that I wanted to do on my own farm. And they also, like at their conferences, then they would have, organizations like the NRCS, which is part of USDA, that I started to, exist, and I started to speak to my agents. So from my personal experience, I have benefited from some programs through NRCS, which is the Natural Resource and Conservation Service. I've gotten one of my high tunnels funded through them. They also help to pay for several pollinator strips, which I have on my farm, which obviously helps me to attract beneficial, insects and that sort of thing. But I've realized that a lot of, my colleagues have had, they haven't had the most pleasant experiences. So, so I realized that, I've been, fortunate in that sense, to be a, to benefit, from some of these programs that have been targeted at socially disadvantaged beginning farmers, so.
Yeah. So for those who may not be familiar with high tunnels, what exactly is a high tunnel?
Yeah, so it's a hoop house, and I guess the layman's term, most people wouldn't know the distinction from a greenhouse and a high tunnel, but it's a low tech, sort of greenhouse. meaning I'm just using passive, solar, using the sun to heat it. Other than that, I do have a double layer of plastic on um, on the roof that I use a fan to inflate the two layers so that it insulates it during the winter time. But other than that, I don't actively heat it or cool it. I do have like roll down sides, so I can get some ventilation in there.
Yeah.
But it basically just is, the purpose is to extend the growing season. So I can, in my area, I can start planting like tomatoes and peppers a month earlier. Like I can start in March as opposed to April. And then on the end of the season, I've had tomatoes going in there until December. Whereas if outdoors, the first hard frost will kill those crops.
Wow. And do you grow onions as well? Is that something else you grow?
Not at the moment. I always flirt with doing onions, but onions are a pain, just because you have you have to transplant, so many of them, and most of them you're planting 4 to 6 inches apart, and you really need to care for onions early on because they can't really compete that well against the weeds. So it's one of those, you can only have so many of those high maintenance type of crops.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
So how do you at this point? So you are open to selling to other people, like let's just say other businesses who may want maybe not quantity, but you can pretty much provide some of your growing things. You're able to sell them to businesses and other people as well at this point.
Oh, absolutely. And right now I need to find more outlets because I got tons of stuff and I don't like waste.
Yeah.
So I have a restaurant, Desmond's Island Grill. You might be familiar with them. They're over
Yeah.
in Virginia Beach. In fact, yesterday I just made a delivery to them, a squash, callaloo, head lettuce. They also do the Jamaican pumpkins, tomatoes, cucumbers, stuff like that. Um, I have another organization I partner with, Gianna's iFeed. And I donate things to her that I can't get rid of, or things that, may be left over from the market that I don't sell that are still, good. And she feeds, I think at least twice a month, she feeds 100, families with that food. And then I have a CSA that I do weekly on Tuesdays, but I can definitely use a few more. Oh, and I also sell to 4P Foods online. I sell my ginger switchel to them, but I definitely could use more places to sell to.
Definitely. Do you have a website up for this, or how do people they contact you for purchases? How would they do that?
Yeah, so my website is thundercloud.farm, and um, I also post a lot to my Instagram, which is at Edible Forest, and that's probably most up to date in terms of the things that I'm growing like right now. And I'll take pictures, and it's easily just to upload it there. But for most up to date information, the Instagram is the place to go, and that's at Edible Forest.
Wow, sounds good. I know I'm interested in the cabbage, so for
Okay.
sure, I know I'm kind of stuck on that because it's pretty good. So that's great. Okay, so I noticed you were talking about one of the things that's really big with the USDA or just not just them, but just in general is the value added side, having a value added product. And you had mentioned, and that kind of stuck out when you were talking about that you actually have a product that you actually use or have developed from your own crops. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, and I remember when we first met at the market, you had your own ginger juice back then as well, and that's when I just started making a product called Ginger Switcher, which uh, it's a drink that goes back to the colonial days here in my area, they used to give it to, the slaves for a little, electrolytes and some extra energy, to keep them going in the field. But I think its origin goes back to the Caribbean, originally. But the ingredients are ginger, apple cider vinegar, and honey.
Okay.
And so I've been growing ginger on my farm since 2017. And
Wow.
yeah. And that ginger I actually bought back with me from Tanzania, on a trip there. So I've been propagating that.
Wow.
And I just started bees this year. So that'll knock off two of the main ingredients that I produce, on my farm.
Wow. Yes. Dang, that's pretty much, I didn't know. Yeah. So you grow ginger too as well.
Oh yeah, ginger and turmeric as well this year.
Wow. That's excellent. Yeah. Cool. All right. So that's very interesting. Yeah. That you really engulfed in it. And I know when we met, I knew that you were a farmer, but like to the extent of what you were into, that I didn't really I didn't know all of that, but that's really good. And the value added product as well, that's very good as well. Have you looked into any value added grants or things like that?
Yeah, I had been for a while when I first learned about the value added producer grant with USDA. It was closed for a number of years, from like, I want to say from 2016, 2017, 2018. So I know it's open now. Last year, I just missed the deadline to, applying for it. But I believe it's open right now. And that's something I'm definitely interested in to scale up.
Yeah.
Because now I'm getting orders from like 4P Foods. They just put in an order for 125 of them. I do a market in Richmond, and I sold 40 out there just last week. So, and I ran out in like an hour and a half. So I'm in the process of building more infrastructure on my farm. I just put down a concrete slab to build a packing and storing shed. And my next goal is to put in a commercial kitchen, so then I'm able to, crank out, my switcho, as well as make some other value added products as well.
Wow. That is excellent. Yeah. So yeah, it sounds good. So I'm good, because I know, we need to talk as well, because I didn't know you were growing ginger, because that's kind of my line of work as well. So
Yeah.
definitely reaching out to you on that side as well. And but yeah, for sure. So at this point, you're pretty advanced in what you do, and you're still growing and very positive and different connections and still growing. That's excellent. And so at this time, what I'll do is open up the floor to any of the members of the group, that if they have any questions for you, definitely. And I will say, before we go that far, this is the right place to be. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the group that we're a part of here, it is a nationwide group. So we have connections all over, and especially, one of the things we do strive to do is make connections all over. So, Virginia, California, wherever, that way we can bring this stuff into a good space so we can all, build together as a unit. So at this point, I'll digress. And if any of the team members, which is an excellent conversation as well, and I look forward to speaking to you as far as purchasing as well, because I'm here in Virginia Beach too, just right here. So, but I'll open the floor up for any of the members here that have any questions for you. I will say that this is a lot larger group than what you see. It's just probably no telling where everybody is today, with the COVID restrictions lifting up and people being able to travel and going and that type of thing. So, but I'll step back and I'll come back in, and I'll open the floor up if any of the group members have any questions.
So I got a question from Jetty. Go ahead, Jetty.
I apologize, Gabriel. It's not a question. I just wanted to say to Mr. Monk, Thelonious Monk, man, you're on the right road. That's kind of what we've been doing out here, putting together, except we're doing it with tropical trees in the desert. It's like 116 degrees right now, headed toward 120, but we can do it. You know, you can grow anything if you really want to grow it. I appreciate what you've done. You're a younger brother, but you really are on the ball, man. Keep it up. Thank you.
So that was Jetty. He's in California. And he called you Thelonious Monk, which I do believe is a musician. But I think it was a compliment.
I was going to say something.
That was a compliment all the way around. I do have a question for you though, Thelonious. And I will mention that I just bought your Darrell switch, your ginger switchel. So I just bought 3 of them. So you made a connection on this call and a sale. So congratulations.
I appreciate it.
I'm all about supporting our farmers and whatnot. So I do have a question for you though. If you could expound a little bit more about your the other program that you have. I believe it's called, what is it? Future Harvest. If you can talk a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're, like I said, they're a local organization which is involved in protecting the watershed of the Chesapeake Bay. So Future Harvest, CASA is the full name, which is Chesapeake Alliance for Sustainable Agriculture. And how I got linked with them is through their beginning farmer training program. But other than that, they do a lot of other things like advocacy because their home office is located in the DMV area. So this year, they've reached out to me as well as another brother, Renard Turner, who's a legacy farmer. He's 69 years old. He's been farming for years. And they included us on the board so that we can add more input in terms of, racial equity and, inform their programs, to ensure that they are being more inclusive, whether that's, providing, resources or capacity building, for farmers of color. Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay, cool. John, are you on? Mr. Jameson, are you available? You have any questions?
Sure. What made you get into the ginger and the turmeric, and how do you grow those and process those?
Yeah. I think I got to give some credit to the lady I apprenticed with back in 2015 because she was growing ginger, at the time, and that's where I first learned the process of it. And then from there, I attended a workshop at Virginia State, and they were actually trying to encourage farmers on the Eastern Shore to grow ginger and turmeric, and they were looking for people that were interested in just trialing it. So when I built my first high tunnel, that was the actual goal was to use it exclusively for ginger, because it's a long sort of crop. You start in January with you get the seed, and it can be like mature ginger that you might even find in stores, but you really need the eyes, like if you think of potatoes that have eyes in it, so you want ginger pieces that have those nodes already started in it, so they're nice mature pieces. So if you have the space to start it in January or February, that's really when you want to take those pieces, and they don't need to be any bigger than just like your thumb. You pot those up. My medium for planting in, I just use straight compost. And then your goal from January until April is just to pretty much keep them warm, basically above 60 degrees. Although they can tolerate some dips, but you know, you don't really want them to, you know, be exposed to too many days of frost. So if you can keep it, if you have a place where you can keep it, you know, above 60, you know, 55, 60 until April, they'll start sending up shoots. You know, and then once those pots have started sending up those shoots, then you're ready to plant that directly in the ground. And at that point, you can plant them outside, or if you plant it in a hoop house, let's say April, then you're not in any rush to really dig it all up, because they won't be ready until end of September, beginning of October. So really, depending on what climate you're in, you know, if you're in a place, you know, that stays pretty warm, you know, all year long, then you can grow it outside. But here, where I am, I have to grow it in a hoop house. You know, so you have from April to basically like the end of September, where it's pretty much expanding from that thumb size piece to you might get 5-6 pounds of ginger below the ground, sort of like, you know, if you're familiar with potatoes. And then you can start digging them up. At that point, if your goal is to save seed, then you keep whatever you don't dig up in the ground to mature until the following January again, which you'll repeat the process, dig up the mature ginger, break it all up, replant it, and so on and so forth.
What's the market like? I mean, is it better to sell the actual, say, the root, or is it better to process it as a value-added product and then sell it that way?
Yeah, so I tested selling it, just as the ginger root, but it's really hard to get the value that you would like. You can look up prices online that say you should sell like fresh baby ginger, anywhere from $10 to $15 per pound. The challenge is most people at the market won't pay that much, when they can go to, Whole Foods or what have you, and probably pay about $5 or $6, per pound for mature ginger, though it's not the fresh, baby ginger. So I found it to be more profitable to make a value-added product. And for sure, I can produce about 30 jars of my ginger switchel using about 3 pounds of ginger, and I sell each of those jars, for $8 a jar. So right there, 30 times 8, that's $240. As opposed if I sold it, those 3 pounds in the market for $5, you make $15. And of course, you have to calculate in, all of your other expenses like the jars and the labels, right now I'm purchasing honey, but that will soon be, crossed off once my bees start producing. But it's, my cost still for one jar is about somewhere, I think it's a little less than $2, something like that. I've worked it out, so it's still it's much more profitable. Value added is the key, and I recommend for any farmer, no matter what they're growing, you got to have at least a couple value added products. If you grow tomatoes, make some tomato paste or tomato sauce. If you're growing fruit, make some sort of jam, and that you really increase your revenue.
Great point. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How much cabbage can you produce as well? That was a question I wanted to ask you.
Well, yeah, right now, I got tons of cabbage. I usually grow about 150 per bed. And I literally just seeded, let's see, I just seeded 250 sales of cabbage that I'll plant for the fall. So, and that's just because of in my area, people tend to like collard a lot more, so I overloaded on the collards. I seeded 900 collards, and about 250 cabbage. But I mean, I'll send you some pictures that I got purple cabbage in the field right now that are forming heads that I seeded in the spring that are just looking beautiful.
Wow,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I'm interested in purchasing some cabbage as well, on a commercial level. So we'll discuss that outside of the call.
Okay.
All right, good. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I do. One more question, Jetty. Thelonious, what? I had to look up that word switcho because I hadn't heard it before. I see it's Caribbean, so you have a Caribbean ancestry, I take it. What I want to ask you is, you make the you have callaloo, but do you also grow roselle? The hibis, you know what I'm talking about, the drink sorrel.
I do. I do, and I don't have a Caribbean background, but I do have a lot of Caribbean friends,
Okay.
and there's a large population in the 757 area
Great.
which I live in.
Yes.
But yeah.
Thank you, brother.
But yeah, I do the hibiscus, and I have a friend who actually gave me the seed to start growing that, and the callaloo. She started the transplants for me, and I've been planting those for about I guess 3 years.
You're a farmer, but do you sell those callaloo seeds too?
I don't sell the seed.
Okay.
I sell the greens, and to be honest, I haven't. Callaloo is one of those crops. It comes from the amaranth family, and if you
I love
let
it.
if
Yes.
you let it go to seed, you have it coming back.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, every
You're
single
right.
year. So
But I still love to eat it. You're right.
yeah, so I
Very
didn't even
basic.
plant it this year, but I have it coming back in the beds I planted last year. So I'm just harvesting that.
I might have to just buy my greens from you then. Thank you, brother.
Okay.
Definitely. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
I have a couple of questions. First one being, you mentioned that you do kimchi, you do your own kimchi. How do you ferment that? And is it spicy?
And what was the last part of that?
Is it spicy?
Oh yeah. Mine's have a kick to it, and I say it's my own version. It's not like traditional, Korean kimchi. Mainly because I didn't have the Korean hot peppers the first year I did it, nor did I have like the Napa cabbage that they use. My version of it was I originally got the idea because at the end of the season I still had tons of fall crops in the field, and it's now January and all the markets are done. So I took the cabbage, the collards, the kales, the turnips, the radishes. I diced them all up, put them into a big this big vat that I have. You use rock salt. You mix it up with a little bit of water, and you just massage it into the into the vegetables, and from there you just pretty much pack it down into jars. And from there, the only key is like as you're packing that into the jars, it forms a little brine, from the juices, and you want at least like an inch in the top of the jar so that everything stays below the juices, because you don't want it exposed. And I'll usually put like a cabbage leaf or something on the top as sort of like a lid, and then screw on another lid. And from there, you just let it ferment, and it takes only about a week or so, for that, good bacteria to really start breaking down everything. And it'll keep on. The thing about like the kimchi is, what it tastes like in a week is different than after a month or at, 2 months, because it's continuing that, that process. But it's super in terms of health. It's super healthy for your gut. For your gut health and building that good bacteria.
Great. My second part of the question is, I noticed that you have sun-grown hemp. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sun-grown hemp. You had asked me about was it spicy, and I get off track there. I use the Burberry from, if you ever had Ethiopian food, and that red spice that they have on the side, that's called Burberry. And so my friends own an Ethiopian restaurant, so I substitute that as the spice to give it that heat in my kimchi, and that gives it a very unique flavor as well.
Nice.
But yeah, the hemp, I jumped on board as soon as Virginia started licensing farmers. I think that was 2019, the first year, 2018 or 2019, I got licensed, and I've been experimenting with it ever since. I started out with like 50 plants. Last year I did about 150 plants. I did some inside the hoop house. I have 2 hoop houses now, and then I did some out in the field. And this year I have some hemp growing in the other hoop house. So yeah, for me, my initial goal was to do fiber, because I saw that as looking forward in the future. I saw that as the bigger opportunity, particularly for Black landowners, just because there's so many just uses for it. And I was really interested in the hempcrete aspect, which I have started, building a hempcrete house on my farm. So that first year I got licensed, I tried growing the fiber crop, but none of it germinated, and I must have got some bad seed. I don't know what happened. And then the CBD seed kind of just fell in my lap. So then I not to lose the season, I went ahead and planted that. So it's been a challenge finding a supplier for the fiber seed, although a colleague of mine that works for Virginia State just sent me some information on where I can secure seed for to grow the fiber crop. But I've been doing the CBD in the meantime, really just getting familiar, with the crop.
Excellent. Good stuff.
You're on mute.
Darrell, you're on mute.
Okay, are there any more questions? I know we've been on about an hour, and we're about ready to wrap it up here. Any other questions? Okay, cool.
Thank
Okay,
you so much for this program. Thank you. It's very illuminating.
For sure, yep. And I definitely will be contacting you about some other purchasing as well, because you definitely, some of the stuff that I'm doing on the value added side, I'll be reaching out to you for that as well.
Okay.
And Mr. Jameson, you have something you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted to thank him for his information, and also asking for those who may not understand the importance of value added. Could you share in any way, shape, form that you can the importance of adding that. I know you spoke about it briefly, but a lot of people don't understand the importance of value added as far as added income.
Yeah, like I said, it's, you know, as a farmer, it's really hard to get, you know, the value, you know, for, the crops that you're growing. And one example, like the restaurant I sell to now, she's used to buying, from the, food depot, so when she can get, a bushel or half a bushel of squash, and zucchini for $8, half a bushel is 20 pounds. For $8, that's 40 cents, a pound. And I can't, I sell squash and zucchini at the market for $2 a pound, and, even that selling it at $2 a pound, it's a grind, making, it above subsistence living, as a farmer. And very few farmers are able to do that, particularly, Black farmers. I think I was seeing some stat like, like 60 or 70% make like less than $5,000 a year. And that really isn't, why you, like you really can't survive on that. You can't survive with, unless you have some sort of, other income coming in. Not only that, but in order to, offer nutrient dense food, it really takes a lot of, hands-on, like, practices, from everything from pest management, to weed control. I don't spray, herbicides, or pesticides, but larger scale farms, maybe they can go in. It's easier for them to just spray things, but for me, there is a lot of time put into those vegetables. And so, yeah, in order to get the, maximum return, you have to, turn those products into value added goods, which the example I gave earlier, I can, try to, sell the ginger, for $15 a pound, which is hard, or turn it into a product that, that gives some, medicinal benefits. People find the value in that. As the brother asked me earlier about the hibiscus or the roselle, I make a jam with that as well. So it allows you to stretch that crop. You can also have income, in the off season, because when you make a value added crop, it essentially preserves that, that crop as well. You might only be able to have tomatoes during the growing season, or once that first frost comes, all of my hibiscus plants, are, they're dead. But if I'm able to harvest everything off before that frost comes, and then convert that hibiscus into hibiscus jam, now I have that jam on the shelves until I sell out. And that can take me deep into the off season. So it really just gives you, extends your season, and gives you multiple streams of income.
Are you doing any IT work?
I still freelance, and I'm actually working a contract now with the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, with their School of Agriculture and Natural Sciences. So they gave me a contract last October, and it was intended just to be from October to April, just to supplement some income during the off season. But because they're doing a big website migration, they extended that contract. So I'm still doing some work with them as well.
Is it a programming background or web design? What do you do?
Yeah, so my degree was in integrated science and technology, which it means we learned a little bit about a lot of things. So there was some programming background, website development, GIS, just database development. And then in my career, I did a lot of, email network administration, and then also a lot of website development. But I do freelance now and do a lot of website design as well as digital marketing, and that's, doing the Google Analytics, people are trying to get their business up and running with, ads on, on the search engines and everything. I do all of that.
I have a feeling my group's going to be contacting you very soon.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
All right. Good. Okay. So how can people get contact you? Did you put the his link and everything in the address bar, Gabe?
I put his website in there. Thelonious, do you have an email address you're willing to give out, or do you want the Instagram?
Yeah, sure.
How can people contact you?
Yeah, and my email is thelonious@thelonious.org. So it's just my name, my first name at my first name.org. And it's spelled like monk, but I only have the one O, so I don't have at the end. It's not IOUS, it's just IUS.
Got it.
Could you type that into the chat for everybody?
Thank you. And the Instagram as well, please.
Okay.
What's the Instagram, Thelonious?
It's at Edible Forest. And I just put both in the chat there.
Awesome. Thank you. Darrell, you want to close us out?
Yeah. Okay. So I will say thank you very much for everybody attending our third Thursdays Zoom meeting, and with our guest Thelonious Cook, which is a farmer based out of Eastern Shore, Virginia. And thank you very much for attending. And this will be broadcasted and sent out to multiple different platforms, and we'll go from there. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Thelonious. Awesome job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome job. An awesome job to you, Chef Joseph, aka Darrell.
Thank you. All right.